If the mythical island nation of Atlantis truly existed, then where is it? Why haven't we found it yet? Here are 10 ongoing theories of what really happened to Atlantis. Number 10. It's the island of Santorini. A common view is that Atlantis was actually part of Santorini, a small island in the East Mediterranean that was partly destroyed by the mighty Volcano of Thera in 1646 BC. Yep, a long time ago. Geologists have suggested that if you reconstruct the island of Santorini, you can see that this complete version, before it was destroyed by the volcano, used to be Plato's mysterious island of legend. The volcanic eruption may have been the largest ever witnessed by mankind, and the explosion is estimated to have had the strength of 40 atomic bombs, and would have been 100 times more powerful than the eruption at Pompeii. One geologist disputed Plato's version of events over Atlantis, claiming that he made a mathematical mistake which meant his dating was thousands of years off. He suggested the real timeline matches with the events that created Santorini. He also thinks it ties in with certain events in the Bible, so it is easier to place Atlantis in Santorini than anywhere else. A nearby town known as Akrotiri was found accidentally, buried under centuries of ash and pumice. The town was hidden for over 3,500 years, and excavations have revealed buildings that were 2 to 3 stories tall. No human remains have been found, so it is believed that people had enough warning to leave. There are many well-preserved frescoes describing the daily life of the people who lived there. Whether it was in fact Atlantis that got wiped out by molten lava remains to be seen. Number 9. The Black Sea. Some are happy to believe that Atlantis was just a made-up story of legend, but others believe it was a real place. Not only that, but it was actually something else. The theory of Atlantis being located in the Black Sea region is a great example of this. It all centers on the rise of ocean levels following the last ice age. Scientists claimed that when the land joining Europe and Asia separated, the resulting saltwater flow flooded a freshwater lake, turning it into the Black Sea in what's come to be called Noah's Flood. The shoreline of this lake was 350 feet lower than the current ocean level. Around this time, there was an ancient culture that was already there. It was either Neolithic or Chalcolithic, and it got submerged around 5,500 BC. It's believed by some that this culture was what Plato was referring to when he wrote about Atlantis. In this theory, Atlantis was started by settlers crossing the Aegean Sea from Turkey. Experts not only think the Pillars of Hercules were in fact the local Strait of Bosporus, they don't even see Atlantis as an island. It was an island set in the middle of a whole country. When it comes to revelations about Atlantis, there are twists and turns everywhere. And now for number 8. But first, let us know what you think happened to Atlantis in the comments below. And if you are new here, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the latest videos. Number 8. Under Antarctica. Atlantis is usually believed to have been somewhere warm, possibly around the Mediterranean, and you'd probably need your sunscreen if it had been invented yet. However, an American historian thought the truth was very different and colder. Professor Charles A. Hapgood went on record in the 1950s as believing the mythical island was in fact part of Antarctica. Plato's Utopia supposedly went down as a result of crustal displacement. Now that sounds like something nasty, but it's actually about the shifting of the Earth's crust. This happens every 20 to 30,000 years and is bad news for any advanced civilizations who happen to be sitting on top of it. Professor Hapgood was checking out a 500-year-old map from Piri Reis, an Ottoman admiral, which showed Antarctica as being a varied landscape with habitable areas away from the ice. This apparently was consumed by the cold when the plates shifted. Further researchers also believe that even though now Antarctica is pretty much just inhabited by scientists and penguins, about 12,000 years ago, people could have lived there. This was just mostly speculation and rumors, but more recently, NASA took photos of Antarctica which seemed to reveal traces of a human settlement under the ice. Some people also claim that Google Earth images also show a pyramid poking out that could have belonged to an earlier civilization. None of these ideas have gotten a ringing endorsement from the scientific community, and until more research is done, the rest of us will have no idea. Number 7. Is it based on truth? Atlantis is often portrayed as being the perfect society, a peaceful utopia that was very technologically advanced. However, if you look at where the legend started, in Plato's dialogues written in 330 BC, he describes a place that is just like any other. According to him, it was a technologically advanced society that was wealthy and had a very powerful military, but it was also corrupt. He claims that Atlantis battled against the city of Athens, who came out the hero. If this were the case, then other Greek texts should also mention Atlantis, right? Did he make it up? How did Atlantis become so famous? We can all probably thank Plato fans and also Congressman Ignatius Donnelly, who wrote The Antediluvian World in 1882, a book that explored the idea of Atlantis and popularized it for a new audience. He claimed the place was real and that all great cultures can be traced back to it. He also added his own facts and stories, so it's not really a great resource. He even sent a copy to Charles Darwin, who didn't believe any of it. Other people who were less skeptical believed there must be some truth to the myths, and now there are even Atlantis experts. There are many arguments and evidence that it could be in the Atlantic Ocean, Antarctica like I mentioned, Bolivia, Turkey, Malta, or even the Caribbean. Plato was clear though. It should be past the Pillars of Hercules, which we now know as the Strait of Gibraltar. However, as you know, nothing has been found yet. Number 6. It was founded by Lemurians. An old idea about Atlantis is that it's connected to the lost continent of Lemuria. Lemuria was believed to be located in the Indian or Pacific Oceans, but their continent sunk due to volcanic activity. The Lemurians were beings who could travel between dimensions by altering the matter in their bodies. Plate tectonic theory and the existence of other continents strongly discounts that this ever existed, just to be clear. But apparently, when they lost their continent, some moved to Africa and used their powers of matter control to build the pyramids in Egypt, because why not? Others went on and founded Atlantis, which was located in the Atlantic. Atlantis was punished by the gods because their technology became unethical. They were messing around with genetic modification and cloning. Sound familiar? Once Atlantis was submerged, the Lemurians and Atlanteans then spread out and began the Toltec and other civilizations in the Americas and worshipped the sun. It's said there are Lemurians and Atlanteans in the world today, so watch out for people teleporting and lifting rocks with their minds. Again, just to be clear, there is no evidence on the ocean floor that these continents ever existed. Number 5. Lost in the Bermuda Triangle. Plato talks about how Atlantis was swallowed by the sea in a single day. Even so, you'd think that over the centuries, someone would have stumbled on something concrete to prove the island existed, right? Well, this kind of happened in the late 1960s. A professional diver and physician named Ray Brown was diving in the Bermuda Triangle off of Miami looking for treasure, and he claimed that he had discovered an underwater city. He said the buildings looked very advanced, and he found the tip of a pyramid. As you know, the Bermuda Triangle is known for strange disappearances and mysterious cases of technology malfunctioning. French explorers later went to the same area and also reported finding an enormous crystal pyramid in the seabed. The sonar readings said the pyramid was larger than the largest found in Egypt, with 2 holes at the top that sometimes open and suck in water, creating a vortex. This vortex would be responsible for the dangerous conditions in the sea, creating rogue waves and thick mist. Why would the Atlanteans build a water-sucking pyramid? I'll leave it to you guys to work that one out. Number 4. It's in the Bahamas. If you're in the United States, then Atlantis might be closer than you think. To be more precise, it could be 50 miles east of Miami. There lies the island of Bimini, part of a chain of islands in the Bahamas. Just 20 feet under the water, there are some mysterious stones which could show the existence of Plato's fabled kingdom. These limestone blocks run for half a mile along the bottom and are up to 13 feet in diameter. They form a path-like structure leading them to be called the Bimini Road or Bimini Wall. It was discovered in the late 1960s and is believed by some to be proof Atlantis was a real place. They think the road leads to Atlantis. Geological experts argue it's just a natural phenomenon and the limestone blocks are naturally shaped by tidal forces. What can't be denied is Bimini's spooky link to Edgar Cayce, an American mysticist. In 1938, he declared the temples of Atlantis would be found in either 1968 or 1969. The Bimini Road was first reported in 1968. You've got to admit that's a pretty good call on Casey's part, whether it's Atlantis or not. Number 3. Founded by aliens. You know I couldn't leave this theory out, since so many people out there actually believe this stuff, no thanks to Ancient Aliens on the History Channel. Supposedly, aliens landed on our planet in its infancy and helped in the development of our ancient cultures, one of which was Atlantis. Some hypnotherapists believe that they have spoken to people about living on Atlantis through past life regression. Hypnotize someone and chances are they'll have a past life in a magical kingdom. These accounts describe the use of crystals as a power source in ancient Atlantis. Dr. Ray Brown, who I mentioned earlier, remember him? He claimed that in the lost city that he found, there were 2 metal hands holding a crystal ball, which he took for himself. If you Google it, you can see him talking about it in an old documentary on the History Channel. The general idea was that aliens were preparing us to be part of an advanced galactic community, and we need crystals to participate. Guess we're not advanced enough yet, as I think the little green men have yet to reach out. Number 2. It's in Morocco. A German computer genius named Michael Hubner came up with a unique approach to finding Atlantis in 2008 when he gave a presentation at the Atlantis conference in Athens. Most others had taken an archaeological approach or used mysticism to locate Plato's fantasy island. Hubner, on the other hand, wanted to try a mathematical way of doing things. He used a system called hierarchical constraint satisfaction. What's that? I'm not an expert, but it's probably best to describe it as a very detailed method of tracing Atlantis using all of the information from Plato's texts. These details were then matched as closely as possible to real places, which produced some surprising results. Like many others, Hubner believed Atlantis was in the Atlantic region, but he theorized it was in Morocco, just south of Casablanca in North Africa. He worked out this location by finding concentric circles of stone marked with red and black stripes. Sure enough, these are described by Plato in his dialogues. Hubner sadly died in 2013, but his theory was brought to a wider audience by writer Mark Adams, who released the book Meet Me in Atlantis in 2015. The Moroccan argument is a compelling one. Number 1. Plato made it up. I'm sad to say that the most realistic theory is that Atlantis was made up by Plato, the Athenian philosopher who first told the world about it. Plato lived between 424 to 328 BC. The legendary island with an advanced civilization was described in his dialogues titled Timaeus and Critias, which were written around 330 BC. It was watched over by the god Poseidon and named after Poseidon's son Atlas, who became its king. If you believe the gods existed, fine. If you don't, then this won't make any sense. Plato said Atlantis was located in the Atlantic Ocean past what's thought to be the Strait of Gibraltar. That's possible, but when you look at the society of Atlantis, it really looks like Plato invented it. Plato had a lot of thoughts about what makes a perfect society, and it just so happens Atlantis reflected these ideas. It also got too arrogant, conquering the globe, and then was sunk by the gods in a day as punishment for losing its morality. It's believed Plato created the story of Atlantis just to prove a point and warn the Greeks about their behavior. He has sent many on a wild goose chase over the centuries, and people have lost fortunes and their lives looking for Atlantis. He's not here to defend himself, but he was definitely a good storyteller. Thanks for watching! Do you think Atlantis really exists? Do you have any idea where it is? Let us know in the comments. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!